The Payload Operations Integration Center at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, is the heartbeat for space station research operations, and it is where Lori Meggs is this morning with a report on the start of Expedition 40 science.
Well, there's plenty to keep this control center buzzing 24/7, and one of the men responsible for making sure that everyone is doing his or her job to make sure that research is conducted is Mike Shell. Mike, thanks for joining us today. You're a Payload Operations Director here. Mike, tell us about your work and what you do.
Oh, good morning, Lori. The Payload Operations Directors are the real-time operations managers here at Marshall. Our team manages all the U.S. Payloads aboard the International Space Station. This includes the U.S. Lab, ESA, and the JAXA module, including our external payloads. And our position reports directly to the JSC Flight Director.
So Expedition 40, we always say with a new crew comes new and exciting research. We also have some ongoing research. So let's go ahead and jump in and
okay.
talk about a few things. The first one is opals.
Yeah, opals. Opals being removed from the SpaceX trunk back in April. And its main objective is to really test laser technologies to transmit data to Earth. And the laser data transmissions, they're much faster than our traditional RF transmissions. They've been checking this out for the last 6 weeks. Hopefully we're going to have hopefully Opals will have their first successful video data transmission here in the next few days. But they've been doing a lot of great work, and we're excited about what they're doing. A lot of what they're doing is handled by some of their young engineers at JPL.
Yeah, it's a lot of young guys doing that work,
absolutely.
and they're so excited about the work they're doing.
Yeah, and this is HDEV. It was just installed recently, and it's the high-definition Earth viewing, and it's 4 high-definition cameras mounted externally. They are commercial cameras, and one of the things is just evaluating these commercial cameras for future missions. Mm-hmm. A lot of this hardware was designed by some of our high school students in the Hunch program, and one of the exciting things is a lot of views on Ustream.
Oh, yeah, a lot. I catch myself looking at it. Next, we're doing a little gardening in space, right?
Absolutely. Veggie is our new greenhouse aboard the ISS. It was developed at KSC. We've started our first garden. We've got some red lettuce growing. It's been growing about 3 weeks. Commander Swanson, he's kind of become our resident gardener, we call him.
Somebody's got to have a green thumb.
Absolutely. Some of the plants, we're growing them just really to validate the veggie hardware that's up there. And we'll be harvesting these next week. And we'll be freezing them and bring them back later in the summer.
Nobody can sneak a bite or anything up there.
Not yet, but that's kind of the goal. Maybe in the future, we'll see how that goes.
That'll be very interesting. Another thing that we also like to talk about is, or what's very important, not we like to talk about it, but the risk to crew members about radiation. We need to study this to understand it more, right? Tell us about this experiment.
The Radian 2 is the second run of this experiment. It's kind of a passive experiment, but it's sponsored by the Canadian Space Agency. We'll have 8 neutron bubble detectors. They look like little vials, basically, and they'll be placed in various locations around the ISS, and it's going to help us better understand health risks that our astronauts exposed to, especially neutron exposure. And how these work, these little bubble detectors, basically when a neutron strikes the tube, a tiny bubble is created.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting technology. And we're planning on deploying these next week, and they'll be out for 7 days. They'll be located around various locations around the space station. And once that's over with, we'll bring those back in, collect them up, and use the Russian bubble reader to evaluate the data.
All right, well, we really want to talk a little bit about ocular health, which is also important to crew members.
Yeah, today what the crew's primarily doing is ultrasounds. They're doing ultrasounds on their eyes and heart, ocular and cardiac evaluations. They're doing that all afternoon. So that's an interesting experiment. Commander Swanson, this is, I think, is about his 60th day, so he's collecting data for a 60-day run. And of course, with Reed and Gerst that are up there, this is their first full week in Expedition 40, so we're collecting some baseline data for them. So this is data we collect over the entire increment, and this just happens to be the first time for them.
Let's talk a little bit about the training that you guys help with, this talking about the new crew. How much training do they get before they go? And it continues while they're on board, right? right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The crew's been training for about 2 years, so this is not something new to them. They're training all the time. During that 2-year period, they probably took about 110 courses, which is that's a lot. If you start thinking about it, that's a lot of classwork. But it doesn't stop there. You know, a lot of the experiments, they'll do some refresher courses, or we'll provide them reviews before they actually do some of the more complex experiments.
Right.
And then on some of those simpler, we'll call them simpler experiments, they actually do computer-based training once they get on board. So that may be the first time they've seen it, or just, you know, they may not have studied it a lot before then.
Right.
So we do a lot of training on board. It helps with just the training protocol as we go along.
And they're really helping you get the word out too. A lot of tweets from Reed.
Absolutely. Reed is a tweet maniac so far. He's had some great tweets.
We like that.
You know, we've had a few tweeters up there, I guess, over the years, and they tend to go by Astro, whatever their name is, and his is Astro Reed, and he's picked up about 20,000 followers this week.
Wow.
And I was looking at his feed last night, and he's got some great photos, so, you know, people, you know, they should be following him. He's Astro Reed on Twitter.